Welcome to The State of Us. Real people with honest opinions and the future of responsible media. Here's your host, Justin T. Weller.
Attorney General William Barr criticized Robert Mueller's decision not to reach a conclusion about whether President Trump obstructed justice during a contentious hearing Wednesday that laid bare a rift between him and the special counsel over the politically charged investigation. That, I wish I could take credit for that very nice dramatic setup, but it is not mine. It is from the Wall Street Journal, the Thursday, May 2nd edition. Who cares? And you might be wondering, looking at the title of the episode, kind of what this specifically has to do with that. The answer to those questions are yet to come. You care for a few reasons. This whole situation, okay, Robert Mueller, William Barr, President Donald Trump, Russia, all of this, collusion, all of this equals division for America, equals how we are going to approach our future, both in the 2020 elections and beyond. And so hopefully you care quite a bit, because how mean we are to one another also lends itself to how willing our lawmakers are to collaborate and get things done. So it truly affects all of us, whether or not you care about specifically what's happening. You should care about our conversation today, because our division ultimately leads to a better or worse America. So, Lance, with that, we're going to get into it, but no show would be complete without
your friendly redneck liberal, Lance Jackson.
Man, that's the first time you played that in a long time.
I know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's today's episode?
We've got a special guest in studio.
Oh, I see.
So it's important.
Well, I don't know. What's today's episode? I feel like this is the first year I did shows.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I kind of threw out a whole bunch of stuff, and you said, hey, we're going to do this, and it'll lead into that. And you use this and that. So,
and this and that.
Yeah. So whatever the pronouns are, that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
I'm heavy against pronouns. Okay. Whether I'm a Democrat or Republican, I don't like pronouns.
Okay.
So I take a strong stand against pronouns, even though they have a right to exist and they do have a place, I guess, in the language. I'm not a strong,
you're not a fan.
I'm not a strong supporter of pronouns overall. Yes.
You're a much stronger supporter of the Cardinals.
And proper nouns. Yes. A proper noun, Cardinals. Yes. Not them.
Right.
I don't support them. Them who?
You support the Cardinals.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. The St. Louis Cardinals. With that, I'm going to share one more piece of information, and then we'll be done with information.
They've won 10 out of their last 11, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You got to be happy.
Best record in baseball.
Man.
Yeah.
You got to be feeling good.
Things are good.
Weather's getting warmer, and the Cardinals are winning.
That's right.
Oh, baseball's on TV.
Life is good. Yeah.
I tell you what.
Hey, life's on my computer. Baseball's on my computer every day.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I learned. See, when I want something, I'll use it. So, I mean, I stream all the games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I start every morning watching the game.
Oh, because before, could you get all of them before? Like,
well, if you buy the MLB package, you can't get it with this cable or whatever.
Like the crazy expensive package.
But you get it pretty cheaply if you just get it that you can stream it, access it on your device.
Gotcha.
So I just start my morning.
So the computer's getting some use.
Mm-hmm. No, all day, every day. Takes me about a day to watch a game as I do my chores and come in and out. So
that's probably pretty nice, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm 3 days behind.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I know the outcome, but I'm not stopping, because that was my goal this year, was to watch every inning of every game.
Wow.
And so far I have, and now they have the best record in baseball. So I know it's because that's what I'm doing.
So you can't stop.
No, well, they know they're performing for me, and they're, so they have to keep winning so that I don't start yelling at them.
Okay. So, the Cardinals, and they're not related, I can tell you.
So we're talking about Bill Barr?
Bill Barr?
You mean the guy who will not testify to Congress and then gets mad and says, I'm not coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's the last piece of information I'll share.
I don't like him, and it's his fault.
The Wall Street Journal goes.
You got that? His fault?
Oh.
Pronoun.
Okay.
Bill Barr's
and you don't
fault.
like the pronouns.
I don't like pronouns.
Okay. Wednesday's Senate hearing offered a dramatic public display of the behind-the-scenes jockeying to give Mr. Mueller's findings their proper airing. It came just after the Justice Department released a March 27th letter from Mr. Mueller to the Attorney General saying that Mr. Barr's early public portrayals of the report's main conclusions failed to fully capture the work of the special counsel's office. You know, and that's the end of that quote from the Wall Street Journal. The thing that is happening to me now, Lance, and I would say that you and I are significantly more involved in following politics and current events than the average person, since we do this program. And to me, from somebody that follows this kind of stuff, it is becoming, when I see these headlines, it just like becomes this jumbled mess. Like my brain is just like I don't know what's left. Excuse me for that rude noise, but
I haven't. Well, we're on radio, so you have to make noises. Otherwise,
right.
They don't
Sound
know
effects.
how you feel.
They can't see my face.
I have not paid any attention since the report came out because I was kind of where you were. But yesterday and this morning, the way that Bill Barr responded to the questions and the way the Republicans just praised Donald Trump on the committee, the way the Republicans on the committee just praised Donald Trump, I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, this has got to be, and I'm sorry how many people I offend here, the biggest cover up since Watergate. It just has to be, because
it feels fishy. Feels dirty.
And again, I don't want to make it an us versus them. That's what's wrong with our society. It shouldn't be an us versus them. It hasn't been an us versus them for the majority of the history of our country. I know there was the thing called the Civil War and things like that, but for the most part, we've gotten along historically. We maybe disagreed, but we didn't turn on each other like we're doing now. We could find common ground and common decency and say, yeah, we all agree this isn't right. But there were senators, Democratic senators, that were asking Mr. Barr questions based on quotes from Mr. Barr's previously. And he goes, well, I don't remember saying that. I mean, come on, dude. You know,
yeah,
you're in this position. It's the second time you've been in this position because you did this for Bush 1, and you're a lawyer. And if you wrote this down and you said it publicly and you wrote it down, and now you don't know why you did that. Those people, lawyers, government officials don't operate that way. When they write something down for public perusal, they know why they wrote that. And they know why they wrote it in that format, use that grammar, use those words, because they had a point to make. And when he was specifically asked,
he shouldn't be there.
Right. And when he was specifically asked those questions yesterday, he said, I don't really know. I don't remember. That's just not believable. You know, I mean, that's just not believable. And when highly educated lawyers in the U.S. who are serving as U.S. senators read the same Constitution that all of us can read and say the president has the right to stop an ongoing investigation if he feels threatened, and they say that that's constitutional, it's like, what are Stanford and Harvard and Yale teaching? Okay? Because that's not any constitutional of the 4 or 5 constitutional law classes that I took in my educational background. That's nowhere in that Constitution that I read. And yet these are our leaders, and they're saying that to protect the president, that if the truth is being told behind the scenes, they don't really support. They're just supporting them because they have their own personal agenda as a senator, or they have their own political aspirations, and they don't want to make the president mad. None of those things are the reason why we elected them to their job. And this is why it doesn't have to be us versus them. It's supposed to be about us, the United States, about us, the people. And that's what's so frustrating about this and caught my attention this morning, having lived through the Watergate investigation and watched it on TV. It just reeked of that kind of cover up. So why are you covering up if there's nothing to cover up?
Right.
Just tell the truth. I mean, it's a simple premise, right?
Yep.
It's like my grandma told me, and my mom and dad. If you don't have anything to lie about, then just tell the truth. It's easier to remember. It's easier to remember the truth than it is to remember what lies you told everybody else. So if it's not a cover up, just tell the truth.
If you didn't do anything wrong, then why are why does it feel like and appear like things are being hidden? Which, again, maybe there isn't anything, but then again, why hide it, right?
Right. That's my point.
It's the thing that logically that doesn't make a lot of sense unless, and this is the thing that today's whole episode is about. I'll address two things that you brought up. I mean, I can't agree more, Lance, with the us versus them problem, right? It's the different, I mean, and you said it, it's the difference between right now, it's American tribe A versus American tribe B versus American tribe C. And the problem with that is it needs to be the Americans against others, right? Mm-hmm. It needs to be the Americans as a people, not American tribe against American tribe. I mean, that's what you end up with in the Civil War, right? Because that's Americans killing Americans. Right. I mean, the worst of the worst.
And we don't want to go down that road again over this stuff.
We don't want to do that.
This isn't as important as the issue of states' rights or slavery or economic power or whatever factor you want to try to argue under the Civil War. What's going on now is not that important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be. But there's this attitude is, if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person. It's good versus evil. My side is good because we believe this. And if you don't believe us, then you're evil. And good must conquer evil, which is why you have tribe A and tribe B, as you put it. In my humble opinion, that's why you have tribe A and tribe B, is that, well, my thoughts are right. They're good. They're sanctified. They're holy. And if you don't believe like me, then you're evil, and good must triumph over evil. And so it makes us versus them, instead of all of us pulling the rope in the same direction, trying to get some positive things accomplished.
The other thing that I'll mention is you brought up, constitutional to stop the investigation. Just play devil, and again, I won't use that because that's what we were just talking about, but just to play the other side. Let's just say for a moment that you can make a really strong case constitutionally that it's all right for a president to stop an investigation. I don't know about other Americans, but I would sure hope that that's something that then we would want to change about the Constitution to make it very clear that no president, that no elected government official can stop an investigation into themselves. That seems completely opposite of American values and ideals. I'm not talking about Trump here. I mean, generally, I don't want Nixon. I don't want Trump. I don't want Obama. I don't want anybody ever, any president to be able to say, no, you cannot investigate me, to be able to give that order. That is wrong.
Well, and again, if you have nothing to hide, why do you care if anybody investigates?
Yep.
Somebody comes to me and says, hey, you've been embezzling money your whole life. I'm like, dude, go ahead and look.
Yeah.
Number one, there's no money. And number two, I never embezzled anything. So, right. I don't need to say, no, you can't look into that because, I'm Lance Jackson. I'm your friendly redneck liberal. You can't investigate me because I'm better than you. I'm more powerful than you. I have a higher position than you. It's like, please go ahead because it didn't happen. No, the only reason I'm going to say you can't investigate is because I don't want you to investigate. You might find out that it really did happen. You might find out something else. Why? Mm-hmm. And again, why would you want that perception? If you're innocent, why don't you just say, you know what? Investigate all you want.
Yeah.
Here's every document you're going to need.
Yep. You flood them.
Just go.
Here's everything. What do you want? I've got it.
You find something, let me know because I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Mea culpa before the fact because I did nothing on purpose. If I did something wrong, because I don't remember, I didn't do anything. Again, goes against just what I think of as common sense.
I agree. The next part is I want to talk about, and this is, I think, the bigger issue in all of this. The question for you all to be thinking about is who's the winner of the Mueller investigation? Who's the winner? So think about that for a minute, while Lance and I tell you something else here real quick. So Lance, we're having this conversation. We're trying to take this different approach. Why are we bothering with this at all?
Because it's a day that we have to do a show. Okay. And you brought me in and said, hey, we got to do a show today. So you mean like the mission statement reason? Okay.
Yeah.
So is it that time already? Time flies when you're having respectful conversation.
Our producer didn't flag us and say it was, but I was paying attention. Oh, there it is. I was paying attention. And we don't have our surfaces today either, so we can't get messages.
I was lost. I was going to go get mine.
He was just, did you see him? He's just leaning back in there, just hanging out. He's like, this isn't serious. They're talking about the president again.
He was, well, but I was going to get I'll go get Mr. Slack and have it in here. But I noticed you didn't have it, so I thought we were slackless today.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
You like that slackless?
Yeah, there's no slack today.
No slack today, baby.
No slack.
Weather's nice. Justin said it's no slack day. All right. TrueChat's mission is to educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations. So besides it being a slackless day, who is the biggest winner?
Yeah.
Of this whole Mueller investigation?
You're about to find out who the biggest winner is, at least in my opinion. We'll see if Lance agrees. But before that, we've got a quick word from one of our sponsors. Welcome back. So who is the winner? You've got all these names, right? William Barr, Robert Mueller, Russia, President Trump, all of the cohorts that go along with this whole thing who have been, investigated at different points or been tried or been convicted or, all the names, right? And I'm bad with names, so I don't love that. But there's just one name, Lance. Just one.
I know where you're going, but I'm holding the audience in suspense.
There's just one. Gosh dang it. I'd really like to use some other words because that's how frustrating this is to me, is the whole time. And yes, I'm going to harp on the cable news media. And you know what? No, I'm going to harp too on the frickin' Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. God bless my beloved print media because they have screwed this up too. The winner in all of this is not the Democrats. It's not the Republicans. It isn't President Trump, right? It's none of the Democratic candidates. The winner is Russia. Or we could substitute that and say Putin.
Yep.
Putin. Okay? That's the winner. And the loser is President Trump. It is the Democrats. It's Lance and I. It's you at home. We are losing to Russia. They are winning because this, what is happening right now, is exactly the reason they did all of this. Maybe they wanted Trump more than they wanted Hillary. Forget that for a moment and set it aside, regardless of what you think about that. What they wanted was division. They wanted us arguing and hating each other so that we would quit paying attention to what they are doing. And that's exactly what they've gotten. So I don't know, Lance. Would not have, could not have,
would not have, could not, would not, could not, with a shoe, could not, would not, with a blue. They couldn't have drawn it up any better than this. It's exactly why you do the kind of things that they do, that we do, right. To try to disrupt somebody who is a threat to you or who could get in the way of something that you want to accomplish. And so we're busy doing all of this. I mean, and you can start putting the threads out there. We're busy with all of this stuff while there is the chaos going down in Venezuela, and the United States and 50 other countries have come to the support of the rebellion, and the leader reportedly of Venezuela, the current president, is thought to be leaving on an airplane to go to Cuba and just say the heck with it because Cuba's given him asylum, and the Russians come in and say, no, stay there. Here we go again. The Russians sticking their nose into our hemisphere, and again, what does this do? It keeps us involved. So we don't have the time to look into Syria and look into the Middle East and look and see what the Russians are doing there and to see how many oil fields the Russians are getting control of and to see where they're leaking out into Eastern Europe and taking over control of governments and people's lives. Disinformation and distraction is the key to the communist way of doing things. And that's what they're doing. And we are falling right into their trap.
And that's part of why, for what it's worth, and we've tried to mention this a few times before, but I don't think we've laid it out quite this clearly. That is why you have not seen the same type of coverage of the Mueller investigation over these last, 2.5, 3 almost years now, is because Lance and I have found and know there are so many other important things to discuss. It infuriates me to no end on the days where you can tell that the cable news media is grasping to drum up some drama. That's what they're doing. They're grasping for it. And it just makes me want to rip my hair out because there are so many things happening that are so relevant to us as people, and they are not paying attention to it because they would rather, basically create drama where there shouldn't be drama. We've spent 2 years covering basically the same thing. And for what? To make us more divided so that, and I want to amend this too. Because saying Russia, right, makes it a very us versus them or Russians. It's a very select group of Russians, okay? It's not that the Russian people are evil. The Russian people, actually, when they got a few tastes of our civilization, wanted more of it. But they have a state-controlled media. And when you don't have free access to information, it's real easy to make sure that your approval rating's 80%. It's real easy because all the news media in Russia is, 90% of the time, Putin's the greatest guy in the world and he's defending us against the evil Americans and the rest of the world that's out to get us. It's real hard to make any informed decisions if your news media is only spewing one side of the story.
Exactly.
And the sad thing is that's what's happening to us right now in our country is the news media is going to two sides. So in Russia, where there's just one, we've got two. And the two is equaling this constant butting of heads that, like Lance said, because you think differently than me, I don't like you, I can't talk to you, you're a bad person. No.
Which is not true at all.
No. I mean, that's like
that's where that mission statement comes in, about honest, open, and respectful conversations.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my daughters yesterday, and, the whole idea that her best friend from elementary school through high school and, still one of her close friends today, 10 years out of high school, they have totally different political values, but they have enough other things in common that they're still really good friends. They have, grew up in the same town. Both their parents were teachers. They were both into athletics. They both were into music, blah, blah, on and on and on. Okay. So they don't agree on how to solve a problem, but that doesn't mean they can't be friends and have conversations about issues and then agree to disagree, but still be friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be to live here in the United States. It's what it was for a long, long time, even among people in Washington, our representatives in the House and the Senate. We're both that way. They could stand up and argue two different sides to a bill and then still go out and have dinner with each other and say, okay, what are you really willing to give on? Where can we find something to move this forward? And they would, and they'd find, and we'd go on, So they would argue their sides and then say, okay, now we have to put aside our differences and where can we find a middle ground to push the country forward? Because that's why we're here. That's the way this thing is supposed to work. It's worked that way in the past and it can work that way again in the future.
This isn't meant in a way to lift Lance or I up. I think it's just to prove that it's a possibility. Lance, you observed for years myself and the other co-founder of TrueChat. Would you say that we disagreed pretty regularly about a lot of different things?
Very much so. Yes.
I mean, not just politics, right? I mean, about the company, about what to do, how to do it, all the time. I don't think it was a secret, but we're still friends.
Right.
I still see him to this day.
Right.
And from Lance's standpoint, I'm pretty sure you spent 32 years, right? In a system with a lot of people who you did not agree with.
Right.
But did not prevent you from working with them to help kids to work toward a common goal. One of the reasons that Camden and I disagreed all the time is because we both really wanted what was best, what we thought was best. That's why we disagreed.
Exactly.
Lance fought with people in education, not because he just wants to be mean and fight people, but because he wanted what was best, what he believed was best. But we could still set that aside and move on and, get some stuff done.
Because we had a common goal. You had,
right.
We all wanted what was best for students. You and Camden wanted what was best for the company. And Republicans and Democrats both wanted what was best for the country.
I think they've quit wanting that. That's the feeling I get.
And here's the thing, okay? Have they quit or have we quit expecting it of them?
The second one.
Are we saying, we being we the people, because I don't like pronouns, but have American citizens, and I don't have time to list all of us, so I have to use the pronoun version, that we say, you know what, we're good, the other side is bad, you have to fight for us. And they're just doing, I mean, they have to be doing what we're telling them to do because we have the right to take them out of office. So if we keep reelecting them, we must be liking the job that they're doing, defending our side against the evil, dark side. I mean, I know I don't, and I would gladly vote for somebody who said they were going to go there and try to mend fences and find ways. But unfortunately, that doesn't let you win elections.
Part of the problem too, Lance, right, is that statistically we've found that Americans as a whole have a very low favorability of Congress, right, of the House and the Senate, but typically have a very high favorability of their representative. Yeah. And the reason that I bring this up, because it's so important to understand, part of the reason that is because chances are the House is, particularly the House of Representatives, is very abstract, right? I mean, I don't think that even probably 1% of Americans could name a quarter of the members of the House of Representatives because there's a bunch of them, you know, and they're from all over the country. And most of them, right, one of the reasons they're there is they're advocating for something very specific to their district. Like they're trying, yeah, they've got other responsibilities and it's not like they're doing that, but that's part of the reason they're there is for that thing. So we're not as familiar with all these others. So it's, well, I feel like because I know that my congressman's Jim Jordan and, you know, he was big, his family was big with wrestling and like he grew up here and like we know who he's one of us, you know?
Exactly.
And this isn't picking on Jim Jordan. I'm just using that because that's who Lance and I's congressman is. It has to start with your congressman. It has to start with your senator. It has to, because that's the only way it gets better. Is if you really take a look at them and set aside what you know about them as where they're from and start to look at them as what they've done for you. Because when you do, I think you'll find what Lance and I have found, which is that a lot of these people haven't really done anything for you. Anything. Okay? Like, aside from yelling and screaming and making a big fuss, they really haven't done much for you. I don't feel like most of them have earned the 6-figure salaries that we're paying them. I put it this way. I would not spend 6 figures of my own money for the job they're doing. I would never hire anybody that's doing the type of job they're doing and pay them that kind of money. So maybe I'm being too hard on them, Lance, and you tell me if I should be easier, but I think it's got to start there. You have to be willing to look at because you can't change, right? I mean, you can, but it's much harder for Lance and I to change a congressman or senator from California than it is to choose to vote differently for our own.
That's all true.
So it has to start there. You have to be willing to say, no, gosh darn it, I'm going to look at their voting record. I'm going to look at how many bills they've co-sponsored, and I'm going to look at how many they've actually gotten passed. And of those bills they've gotten passed, did any of those actually do anything that made us better? Because a lot of them have a really bad voting record, really bad. They either haven't voted on a lot of stuff or they voted on a lot of stuff that never got done.
And that's what you're talking about. I mean, as the factual part of this,
right?
What have they done? Because you've looked into Representative Jordan's, background as to the number of bills he's presented to Congress and the number of pieces of legislation that he's produced. And it's very, very minimal.
Right.
So when you talk about what they've gotten done, that's what you're going on. It's like, okay, how many things have you brought up to represent this part of Ohio that you represent? How many things have you signed on to? And so just so people know, it's not because our representative has done, again, pronouns. So Jim Jordan fighting pronouns today. Jim Jordan has not really done a whole lot while he's been a member of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Right. Things that are on the record, the tangible
have been
things that we're
produced.
paying for.
Exactly.
You know, and again, it's not picking on Jim Jordan. I'm just using that as the example because I've taken that time. Any of you out there today, you can go to the United States Congress website. It's real easy. You can pull up your representative and ask for every bill that they've ever been associated with. And you'll get a full list. Every bill, all the text, where they voted, what happened with the bill. Did it become law? Did it not? And you can find out pretty quick, have they been successful? And I think in this country, Lance, successful would mean at least winning half of the time.
Right.
You know, at least being 500, right?
Right.
But not, most of them, no. Most of them are not that. And it's because most of them don't work with others. You know, it's, well, I said I would put this bill forward and gosh darn it, I did, but nobody, you know, but they all said no. So it's not my fault. Yeah, but you weren't willing to change anything that they wanted you to change either, were you? You left that part out. You left out that you could have given the people 70% of what they wanted, but instead you gave them 0.
Exactly.
Because you were being a baby. Sorry, again, being harsh. And I'm using that in general terms. We can talk about Jim Jordan separately, but that doesn't apply to everybody. I'm just using that as an example of I wouldn't pay 6 figures to somebody who has never passed any substantive legislation in 8+ years. Because I don't think that's what I'm paying for as an American citizen, or should be paying. I am paying for it, but I don't think I should be paying for it. Put it that way. So let us know your thoughts, Lance, right? Because we need people to share their input. Because Lance and I have been doing this for a little over 7 years, a little over 700 episodes now. Wow. It's quite a bit. And with that means that Lance and I have got a lot better understanding of how we arrive at stuff. And we try to share that with you, but we want that diversity and that inclusion of different thoughts. So make sure to share it. It's part of why it's been great having our producer Caleb around, because you get that different perspective. Mm-hmm. So please share at TrueChat.org on social media, at TrueChat.org on Facebook, Twitter, and more. Let us know your thoughts, please. Also, Lance, we've challenged people to bring a new listener. Hopefully you guys have got that done. If you have, great. Bring us another. And if you haven't yet, well, gosh darn it, get on it. We're in May. Let's move along here, people. Come on.
Year's almost half over.
That's right. You can't. No more procrastinating. So how can people tune in, Lance?
I was going to say, tell them they can get on with Spotify, which just had a really good, a better than thought report on Wall Street. But Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, and anywhere else that you can find fine podcast. We're out there on almost all those apps.
Find us and tune in.
That's right.
For the State of Us on TrueChat in Urbana, I'm Justin T. Weller.
And I'm Lance Jackson.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Be the change.